Hello, I want to welcome everyone to the Power of Our Story. We are a place of safety and connection for those who protect us. We do this through sharing stories in a healing and judgment-free zone. We have we'll have 6 groups meeting weekly. And if you're a protector or a caring bridge builder, you are welcome to join us. We would love to have you. So tonight, it's really exciting to welcome our guest, Leo Petrilli. I'm going to tell you a little bit about him, and then I'm going to hand it over to him to share his story, and then we'll have a question and answer afterward. So after over 4 decades of addiction, I have been substance-free for almost a decade. It's over a half a century on both sides of the disease. In 2018, I retired from a 36-year career with the Canada Border Services Agency, returned to college and earned a certificate in Chemical Dependency Counseling. I continued my education and working experience, which include these important qualifications: nationally and internationally certified recovery coach, nationally and internationally certified intervention professional. Currently, I am employed as a trainer with the Addictions Academy as a Train the Trainer First Responders program. So I'm going to let Leo go ahead and tell the rest of the story. Leo, welcome. We are so happy to have you. Thank you for being here.
It's my absolute honor to be here in front of you folks, and thank you so much for trusting me with some of your time. You're probably going to see me cry. If you do, don't worry about it. I'm just working my program. Sometimes things happen to you when you're a kid, and you don't deal with it very well. I was home was a mess. My mom was a mess, man. She had her own issues going on, so I would do everything not to go home. And when I was 8, I had a couple of paper routes. I would hate 2:30 in the afternoon because 3 o'clock I'd walk home, and whatever was going on in her life, I would face it. So the more I was out of there, the better it was. And so I did papers. And this one day, I cut through an alley because I had 2 big routes. So I was cutting through an alley, and there were a couple of men there, and I didn't see them. And they jumped me, and they took turns holding me down and hurting me. I ended up biting this one guy in the hand, and they let me go, and they both smelled the urine, man. I could still smell that. And I tore, and I didn't tell anybody. When I got home, my mom said, "What happened to you?" And I told her I got in a fight, and she just kicked the hell out of me like she always does, And being an Italian, my father used to make homemade wine in those big 25-gallon demijohns. There was like 7 or 8 of them downstairs in the cantina, and I would go downstairs, and I found my dad's homemade wine, and I had my answer to life. Always have a glass of 7-Up and a little wine at dinner too. And by the time I got to high school, grade 12, you'd go over to a friend's house for the weekend, and I always had a beard, and I was always a bigger guy, so I was always able to get booze. The drinking age was 18 up here, and I always looked a little older. And there's 4 stages to alcoholism. I hope I'm not triggering anybody. Everybody knows somebody. Before the pandemic, 1 in 5 people had an addiction problem. With first responders, 1 in 4. After the pandemic, in the general population, 1 in 4. With us, it's 1 in 3. Everybody knows somebody. Might be you, might be your family, might be your husband, your wife, your kid. Everybody knows somebody. Maybe it's you. And I drank through my marriage. I met a beautiful woman, she was a nurse. She was just great. And I wrecked her. Because I broke the deal. If you got an addiction, you're breaking the deal, man. They're not marrying that. That's not why you got married. I have no idea what love is to this day. I've got no idea what love is. My kids have distanced themselves for about the last 3 years because they're working through their stuff too right now. And all I am is a source of memory and pain to them. And, you know, when you're on program, they say faith and trust, that things will get better. And you know, they have. My life is good. My life is good. I like who I am today. My whole life was, you know, if you knew me, you would hate me too. My whole life was like that. And so when I'm 21, I get a badge. And I'm not the toughest man in the world, but I know how to, I like to fight. I know how to fight. And I lost 2/3 of the fights that I got in, but I got in them, you know, and I know I've got a good 5 minutes, and I need that violence and I need that drama, because that was never going to happen to me again. And if I could help somebody else, it wasn't going to happen to anybody else either. And so I went through my whole life like this, bitter. Nothing gets in, nothing touches me, nothing gets in, not even good. So get married. I have 2 kids, got divorced. They were like 10 and 8. This is the kind of father that I was, pretending to be a father, pretending to be a dad, a good guy. You know, they lived half an hour away from me. So when it was my days with them, I would go pick them up at a mall that we have. And, you know, we go pick them up and come over to my house for 2 days. You know, 9 o'clock would come. Okay, you guys, you got to go to bed. The second they went to bed, the second I got into my job. I crushed a 40-pounder of vodka every night. They're with me. And I love my kids. I got no idea what love is. No idea. I drove drunk, them drunk to school thousands of times. I wasn't drinking in the car, but I was absolutely hungover from the night before, still drunk from the night before. If I got pulled over by a cop, I'd fail a breathalyzer thousands of times. And that was normal. The alcoholic that I was I could manipulate my work schedule. So I knew where every liquor store was, where every beer store was. I knew when the bank was open. I knew how much money I had. I don't know how much booze I had to know. I knew when the holidays were. I knew when they closed. I knew when they opened. I used to buy vodka a case at a time. You know, back near the end of my disease, a case of vodka, a case of Smirnoff cost $435.75. And I thought it was lasting me a month. But it was lasting me like 6 days, you know. I got my visa statement one month and I looked at it and it was like $5,200. And I'm looking at this thing and I'm going, well, I haven't gone to any vacation. You know, I haven't done any talks. I'm a public speaker. I haven't done any talks. I haven't been in any conference. I haven't been anywhere. So I looked at my statement, and all the way down in Canada, it's called the LCBO, the liquor store. All the way down the page, LCBO, 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 every 6 days. And probably a couple of years, a good 4 years before the end of my drinking, at my psychiatrist's office. He's a good man. He's a good man. He just passed away a couple of weeks ago. Good man. I cried on his couch. I have no idea. For years, he was a good man, you know. I stole his prescription pad. I stole 2 pieces of paper of his prescription pad, and I wrote out 2 prescriptions for myself. He found out. He never arrested me. He should have. My prescriptions were for Xanax. So my last probably three years of drinking was a 40 ounce of vodka, 40 ounce of whiskey, whatever I had, and I would take a Xanax. It was a perfect roofie. Perfect, absolutely good night. Lost, gone. Then I started crushing and snorting a Xanax with my 40. I am a fall down, pillhead, absolute addict and alcoholic. On September 17th, 2011, I was so drunk I fell through a glass table, and I ended up in the hospital. And when I ended up in the hospital, I had to go get my MRIs. We'll talk about those after, Chappie, if you don't mind. I had to get my MRIs, right? So they kept me in a medically induced coma for a week or so, 10 days, so my brain could relax. And when I kind of woke up and was moving around, there was a nurse making the bed. I could smell like Lysol, and and so I'm looking around. I see these bright lights, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm in a hospital. I'm in a hospital, and there's a nurse doing something over there. And I look at her and I go, hello. And her face was like, she goes, I'm going to go get the doctor. And she zipped out of the room, and I'm wondering, what did I do right? What did I do? What did I do? She come back. This doctor came back, and he's holding a little plastic bag with 2 pieces of glass in it. And he says, do you know where you are? I said, I think I'm in a hospital. He goes, you know how long you've been here? No. Do you know how you got here? No. He said, this little bag I'm holding, it had 2 pieces of glass. They were in your eyeball, man. I'm going to come back and talk to you tomorrow. He did. And he told me what, like my blood alcohol was huge. I probably quit drinking about 3 o'clock in the morning. By the time I got to the hospital, it was like 8 or 9 or 10. And I was still 3 point something in the hospital when I am an alcoholic. Every stretch of that word is myself, So they do all the MRIs, and I had 2 specialists come back to me. One of them was a liver, kidney, and a heart specialist. And he said, you don't have cirrhosis yet, but your enzymes are screaming. You keep going the way you're going. You got 6 months, maybe a year, you're done, you're dead. And then the neurologist, the brain doctor, he says to me, your brain's half the size it should be. And I said, is it because I'm an alcoholic? And he goes, yeah. So I said, okay, so if I quit drinking, will it get any better? And he goes, no. And I got mad at him. I stepped to him. I was so mad at this guy. What do you mean? What do you mean it ain't gonna get any better? He was a good guy. I shouldn't have done that to him. He was a good man. He stepped to me and he says, you keep going the way you're going. You got 6 months, you got a year, you're done. So I got 2 doctors telling me I'm in a lot of trouble. My boss had come to the hospital, seen me all bandaged up, and he said, Leo, what do you want to do? I said, I need help. He said, don't worry about your boss. Just go get well. Come back when you're ready. So I went to a 90-day in-house program. And I did pretty good there. I got a lot of my stuff out. For a lot of us, there's something called ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences. There was a study done by the CDC in the US where there's these 10 traumas that happened to you when you were a kid. If you score sexual assault, physical, verbal, mental, there's 10 of them. If you score 4 or more out of 10, chances are pretty good you're going to be a drunk or an addict or both. And my score was 8. The only thing that wasn't there was divorce and jail, but everything else. So I get out of my program and I'm okay. I go back to work. I went to school before I retired. I got my certification because I got to help people. This keeps me sober. I worked for 8 years at the recovery home where I went from my own. I was the afternoon coordinator of the men's program. That sounds really blah, blah, blah. It's people, the men were like between 16 and 75 years old. And there's so much dope out there. And there's so much, and everyone's so much younger now. And people say, there's so much opioid epidemic. It's epidemic. I OD'd with booze every night. Every night, man. I get ODs. I passed out, blacked out every night for 40 years. I get that, man. The only reason I'm still here is because I did it with a different substance. So I get that, and there's not a naivete in the youth, but it's like almost an indifference. Like if you told me this is the best buzz you're going to ever have, but you might die, or this is going to be a great buzz, you're going to get hammered, I would never do this. I would never do this. I would always do this. I would always do this. But they don't have that pattern to think. Just before I retired, just before I went to college, I went to Kansas City. I gave a talk at a conference. I had, 300 police officers in my room. And everything is the same when I do a share. I never do everything the same way. It's always God bless my words. You want me to talk. This is you doing the talking. So it was a powerful conference. It was really good. I was there in October. Somebody said to me, "We want you to come do this presentation for our corrections officers in New Orleans." I'd never been to New Orleans. So in January, I went to New Orleans, gave a talk. I had 400 corrections officers in brass in my room, and I shared and I cried and people thanked me. Next day, I got nothing to do. I'm going home the day after, so I got nothing to do. I'm in New Orleans. I got nothing to do. So I'm going to be a tourist. I don't know if you've ever been to New Orleans. It's like a really, it's like a really voodoo magical kind of city. It's kind of like that, And so I went to Cafe Du Monde. And I had these beignets. They make them fresh donuts, sugar donuts. And I had cafe au lait, really French. And it was so delicious. And I got myself a muffalata sandwich. And muffalata to an Italian, I don't know if you know or not, but come on. It's like great bread, olives, cheeses, capicola, salami, mortadella, and they make it together and you wrap it up and you carry it around for a bit. Like the sandwich was invented in France in like the 1600s or 1500s or whatever it was. What the guys would do is they would make their sandwich, put it all together. And so by the time it got to lunch, the sandwich would have 4 or 5 hours to meld those flavors together. So when they tore into it, was really good, This was that kind of sandwich. So I got this with me and I'm in a good mood and I'm just being a tourist. And they have like a park down there and there's like a shipyard and it's nice. It's touristy. It's nice. And I'm just being a tourist. And they had this little cement bridge. And I go up the cement bridge to have a view. And I look down and there's a guy there and he's taking a pee on the wall. It's like 10:30, people everywhere. And I got really sad, and I'm watching this man and I watch him walk over to the grass and he just passes out in the grass. And I got so depressed right away. That's you. That's you. That's all you'll ever be. That's it. All the stuff you're doing, that's nothing. That's you. That's all you're ever going to be. And I felt so low. And I had to get out of there. And so I started to walk back towards the hotel, like a mile away. And I'm going through the sea of humanity. There's homeless everywhere. Just reminders of, and I'm crying on the sidewalk. And there's a beautiful church down there. I think it's called St. Michael's. It's a white church. It's really a beautiful church. It's 400 or 500-year-old church. And I go in because I'm saying, like, what is this? I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is. So I went in, and nothing came to me, man. Except I made a plan. January 25th, 2018 was a very, very bad day for me. You know, where am I going to get a gun in New Orleans? But I could get an electrical cord, a thick electrical cord at the conference that I was just at. I knew where there was one. So I walked back to the hotel. I bought a bottle of Jack, brought it into my room, went up to the third floor where the conference rooms were. There was a couple at the hotel desk. You could tell that they were starting to go out, or they were just beginning dating, or they were interested in each other. Hey, Mr. Petrilli, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing okay. I have to go back to one of the conference rooms. I forgot my phone. I forgot my phone. Okay, take the escalator up. Go into one of the rooms, real 40-foot electrical thick cord. Grab it and put it in my bag. Go back to my room. I go to the parking garage. And I'm walking around the parking garage. I look up and I see a real good beam that's going to hold me. And I look at it and I said, okay, that's it. And now I go to one of the doors, one of the side doors, because staff always smoke. Staff always smoke. And there's always a chair outside those doors. And I opened it, and there was the chair. So I brought the chair in and put it under the beam. And I went back to my room. Calm, because it was the right thing to do. Calm. I poured myself a glass of Jack, and everything kind of slowed down. I hadn't drank in like 6 years, but I was there, you know. And so I started to write a note, and I wrote, I'm sorry. And then again, I stopped, and well, a man's got to have a last meal, you know. He had this beautiful sandwich, eh? So I took a bite of the sandwich. It was a good sandwich. The more I ate, the better I felt. I poured the glass of Jack down the sink. I didn't drink it. If I drank, I wouldn't be here. I brought the bottle out to the ice machine. And I came back here to Windsor. And my group leader at the recovery home, Paul, he knows everything about me. He helped me crawl through my shit. And so when I got back, lying is a trigger for me. If I don't tell him, I'm lying now. So lying is a trigger for me. So I have to tell him, and I don't want to tell him because he's going to be, Leo, you got to do another 90 days. You don't have this, man. You poured a bottle, poured a glass. You don't have this. I didn't want to tell him, but I told him, and he said, you did the right thing. This happened to you. You know, you're working your program. You're doing it, and you're working your program. And it's come back a few times. Wanting to drink has come back a few times. I haven't, but it's always going to be there. Like, I'm never not going to be sober. You know, I don't think about it at all. Maybe 2, 3 months, 5 months goes by, I don't think about it, but there'll be a ripple that comes back and I'll want to drink. What I want to say to you folks is addiction recovery is possible. You have to work a program. You have to find, for me, the hardest thing was finding value in myself, you know, because my whole life was, if you knew me, you would hate me too. And Sarah, I think I'm going to end it there. Okay. Thank you for letting me share.
Leo, it's stories like yours that save people's lives. I really, I appreciate you being on and so incredibly vulnerable. Thank you so much. I'm going to put everybody on the screen right now. Yeah, and I'm just, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so grateful that you are here to share your story, to save other lives, to do the great work that you're doing. So, Leo, thank you so much. And I want to open it up for comments, questions. Does anybody have any comments or questions? Sometimes with deep stories like this, Leo, everybody needs a little chance to kind of chew on it. Janet, what's on your mind?
I just want to say thank you for sharing, because people need to hear these stories, especially the ups and downs that you can come through it, but it's not easy. And yes, I've been to New Orleans and I've had one of those things, but I haven't had one of those sandwiches. So now I got to go and have one of those sandwiches. So anyways, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you next year in person. And I hope you keep coming back. Thanks, Leo.
Thank you.
Thanks, Janet. And Michael Parker.
Leo, I appreciate you sharing that, man. I just want to say I'm glad you're here. I know it takes a lot of courage to share that, and I get your struggle, man. I used to be a heavy alcoholic. Like, I realized I was lying to myself and everybody about how much I drank, not unintentionally, up until recently. And like, I'm like, dude, I'm lucky to be here, and I know how hard it is to get sober and stay sober. And so I just want to commend you on that. And you're really helping people, you know, sharing your story, and it's encouraging, man. So thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that also, Michael. Thank you. I think the more people that, you know, share the suffering deeply, you never know who it touches. And we have seen that over and over again. And Leo, you are part of our tribe storytelling and making that huge impact for somebody that really needs to hear this. And I'm just so grateful. Paul.
Thank you. Leo, I'm incredibly impressed by the degree of courage and vulnerability that you came forth with this evening, and I want to thank you for that. It's not easy to do. It's, but you will understand soon enough that there is no judgment here, and that you are appreciated for who you are and not what you are. And there's a big difference. And I will tell you that there was a time in my life when I would go to what we referred to as choir practice. And that was after work. We'd wind up out in the parking lot where the cops all park their personal cars. And we'd have conversations that usually surrounded themselves with 6-packs or 12-packs or whatever of whatever your favorite beverage was. And I came to the conclusion that if I didn't stop that, I was headed down a really bad path. And so what I did, first, I should tell you that I'm a devout Christian. And so I prayed a lot about it. And the thought came to me that I needed to go out and buy an organ. And I did. And I taught myself to play it. My mother went to the same music school that Sara's parents went to. And this was a long time ago. but she played the organ and the piano simultaneously and played all kinds of good classical music. And so I decided to do that. And part of the reason that I picked the organ is because I knew it was something I enjoyed listening to. And all I had to do was get smart enough to learn how to play it so I could really enjoy listening to it. And that was kind of the challenge for me, but I did it. And I now have the 13th organ that I've owned sitting in my living room here. And I have to tell you that that gave me a means of relaxation. It gave me a purpose, just like having a hobby or doing anything like that. If you have a reason to be doing things, you have a purpose. And I will say this, I understand the depths of what you went through. And the reason I do is because I've come to realize that the last thing that leaves us before we decide to blow the whistle is hope. And when we no longer have hope, there's no point. And so I have done for a number of people in my life. I've asked them to write a list. And it's a list of all the things that they're grateful for. And so many times I've been told, oh man, I don't have anything to be grateful for. And I just say to them, good, then stop breathing. And when you start to feel the pressure on your brain, start breathing again and then write that on the list. It was my way of creating a graphic for them about what's important in life. And then my next question would be, so do you enjoy drinking clean water? Well, yeah. Okay, so write that on the list. And I used generally about 5 questions, and I said, now you're going to continue the rest of this on your own and don't stop until you're done. And then tomorrow, come back and look at it and see what you need to add to it. And when people begin to understand that they have a lot to be grateful for, that gives them hope. And I'm not a clinician, I'm not a psychologist. I had psychology 101 in university, and at the end of that semester, I said, okay, I don't need any more of this. But I share that with you just as perhaps a pearl that you can use with somebody else that you run into. Because if you can't give somebody hope, there's not much you can do to help them.
Paul, I appreciate your share a lot. I appreciate everybody's share a lot. I'm a very solid one-on-one. When it comes to addiction, I'm a very solid one-on-one. That's why they hired me, because I help people get to where they got to get to. I share about my stuff. I cry because if you can cry for me, you can cry for you. If you can care about me, you can care about you. If you can love me, you can love you. That was taught to me. One of the exercises, and you're absolutely right. All of you folks are absolutely right. One of the exercises that I like to do is to somebody is when I'm first time I sit down with them, I'll say to them, tell me one good thing about yourself. Nothing. And I'll say, tell me 10 bad things about yourself. Now we can spout those off, no problem. Because negative self-talk is all that we know. So that's a wonderful exercise. And I like to stop breathing when I'm going to take that from you, okay?
Please do.
Thank you, sir.
It's for everybody to use anytime they need it. I claim no patent to it or copyright or anything else.
That's a great one. Yeah, we can all be very grateful for air and breathing. Thank you so much for that. Chappie.
Wow, Leo. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and practice these principles in all our affairs. You are the epitome of step 12, my friend. Really. I've been on both sides of that aisle, a double winner, as it were. I have gone through, alcohol was not my chemical of choice. It was methamphetamine and cannabis. Ruined my marriage. Lost contact with my children, and spent a night trying to start a 45 caliber pistol. And it was only the good Lord above that showed me a vision of my 4 daughters that kept me from using the last 1.5 pounds of that 4 pounds of trigger pull on that Colt 45. And I thank my good Lord above every day that he did that. And like you have to take that suffering and use it for the purpose that God intended it for. And we have to realize our powerlessness, right? Step 1. And realize that whatever it is that we're going through, it is to God's plan and to his glory. And I think that's something that you can take great comfort in your life. We have a awesome little group that meets on Sundays, our virtual church. And we talked recently about the gift of suffering. And there was some really incredible sharing that went on during that. And me being chaplain, I'm going to be doing my chaplain thing here. 2 Corinthians chapter 12. 3 times I pleaded with the Lord about this, that it should leave me. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly of my weakness, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. For the sake of Christ, then, I am content with weakness, insults, hardships, persecutions, and calamities. For when I am weak, I am strong. And that goes right down to the core of giving it over to God, of declaring your powerlessness, of realizing that there is a power greater than yourself, and of giving yourself over to that. And I just want to say that, man, what a powerful story, brother. God has truly equipped you for the calling that you are undertaking now, and praise him for that.
Thank you, Chappie. Appreciate that. Mandy.
Following Paul and then Chappie, I just, what am I going to say? Leo, it was just really nice to see you smile, because when, Janet mentioned this New Orleans and the sandwich, you smiled. And then when you mentioned thanking Paul for the quote you're going to steal, which is okay, and you smile. And I'm just glad to see you smile. That really, I needed to feel like you've come so far, but and I hear it, but I needed to see it. So that smile, and I just wanted to thank you for that, because that gives me the reassurance that you are feeling what you're saying. Your affect is congruent with your story. So thank you.
That's great. Thanks, Mandy. And Janet.
Yeah, Leo, I have to jump in again here. When you said about the about asking that person to say one good thing about themselves, I did a presentation to it was a girls' school, grade 9 girl students. They were going to be going off to another school the next year. And my presentation was based on the success principles. By the end of at the end of my talk and presentation interactive, I handed out cards, and they were all to write something, a letter to themselves, a note themselves, what they're grateful for themselves. And then they were all handed into the teacher, and the teacher would find a day or at the end of school to hand those cards back to them so they could reread it. My heart broke when one girl said she couldn't think of one thing that she was grateful for about her in her life, about herself. And it was really, really hard to be there and witness this. This was a grade 9 young girl. But what happened after was another student came up and said, "Can I have another card? Because I want to write one for her." And so that's what we do for each other. And that's what you did for that person, and what Paul did. And I have to say, growing up with an outhouse, I am grateful every day for hot water and indoor plumbing. So, but keep doing what you're doing, and I'm very grateful you're here.
A great share. Thanks, Janet. So before we ask Leo what he wants us to walk away with, whether it's our group or people who are watching this video, are there any last comments or questions for Leo that you'd like to ask before he ends us out? Okay, I think, Leo, I think you can see that we really appreciate your sharing. We appreciate your vulnerability, the depth of sharing. It's those deep stories that are what hit others so deeply and helps, the healing process. So really, thank you so much. And for all the comments that everybody else made too. Leo, what do you want us to walk away with here?
I want to thank you all. There's so much power in this room. So much power in this room. So much wisdom in this room. There's so much, it's not much of a slip from helpless to hopeless, Paul. You absolutely have it right. Addiction recovery is possible. You have work to do. Some people go to a program and they'll slide through it. Because we're slick, we're good liars. We can get through anything, you know what I mean? They don't do the work that they need to. They don't unpack. They don't find a way to trust somebody. They don't find a way to care about somebody else, be able to love somebody else, be able to love themselves, valuing themselves. It's not impossible to do, but you need help to do that. You need trust to help. You need to trust somebody else to help you do that. And that's like clinicians are so valuable, so valuable, because they know the anxiety part, how to help you with that, the depression part, how to help you with that. PTSI is real for us, by the way. I just found out last week that PTSI is brain damage that we have from, whether it be on site, all the calls that we do, that kind of stuff, the booze, the pills that you do over 30, 40 years. You got this PTSI is a reality, especially for first responders. It's a reality for us, and takeaway for organizations, man. You do not take care of your retirees very well. You don't. You let them retire and you leave them twisting in the wind. Help us unpack this. If someone has an addiction, help them get to it. There's so many suicides. How many people retire and they die within 2-3 months because they can't, leaving the job I could hide behind. That was my uniform. That was my badge. That was my shield. When I was there, I was invincible. Nothing could touch me. And now I can't do it anymore. I'm not part of the team anymore. So I'm alone. I'm isolated with my self-hate, my self-pity, and the verbiage that I talk to myself with. So recovery is possible. Trusting somebody else is key, and finding value in yourself is so hard to do, but it's so key too, And I'm telling you, man, addiction recovery coaches, we rock. And Chappie, I met a chaplain. Actually, send me an email if you want. I forget the guy's name. Good man, at a conference I was at in Detroit. I was at Detroit at the conference, Crisis Intervention Teams International. There's like 1,400 cops there. I had 450 cops in my room, men and women, and they come up to me after, and they hug me, give me a kiss. People I don't know say thank you for talking to me, because my son is struggling, my daughter's struggling. And I sat with them for like an hour for the rest of the conference, or whatever time they need. I've been given an ability to share. I told you I was going to cry, and I did. I've been given an ability to speak and share, but to help others, because, like Paul said, like Chappie said, man, this is the plan. This is everybody's plan in this room. We're all here for a reason. I believe that. It was my honor to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. And I can't say goodbye without letting Paul share.
Yes, you can. A couple of things come to mind for you, Leo. The first is that the fact that you got choked up, and the fact that you had this emotional feeling in what you were saying, lends authenticity to your presentation. And until you've heard somebody give a presentation which they had no experience with and no meaning for, you'll know you're being posed rather than having value added to your life. And you have the means to add value to people's life simply by sharing your story and by providing them with tools that you know about to help them recover, and being aware that it's a lifetime of recovery. It doesn't happen in 2 weeks or 6 weeks or 3 months. It's for as long as you live. And I'm 80 years old, so I have some authority to speak on that behalf. The other thing is that when you surrender your uniforms, you feel like you're alone, you have no purpose, and there is no camaraderie. But when you come to understand that the uniform is not who you are, it is a role that you play in your life. And when you determine that that role has expired, for whatever reason, I left because I couldn't hear anymore. But when that role expires, the challenge is to identify a new role. And those who do, and those who have a purpose in what they're doing, live a lot longer than the 7 years that the average cop goes before he just expires. And when I say average, that's my knowledge of from experience. And some have gone in as soon as a year, and not because of alcohol or drugs or any of that, but they just had they said there's no point in sticking around. I got nothing to live for. And you know, I give them a gratitude list and say, well, let's see if we can reframe this and how it might help you. And so those two things I share with you only so that you and the others here can take it with you and use it. I speak from the heart. I don't own what I say, ever. And sometimes that's good and sometimes it's not, but that's the truth. So anyway, thank you again, Leo. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul. And Tammy, I will be right with you. I have to tell you, I have just been listening to a book about storytelling and about writing. And it is amazing what happens to the physiology of the body when we don't suppress our stories. So when we can get them out, you know, journaling and sharing, and then especially like when there's enough trust to connect with others, to know that you're not alone, it's amazing physically how we heal in all areas. And so I just keep seeing the more and more science. So Paul, thank you so much for adding that. And Tammy.
I will just be a minute, but Leo, I just wanted to tell you that I am so grateful that you're here and that you did not succeed that night, and that you are sharing your power and your light with others and saving lives. You can't not save lives if you tell your story and know that there's hope. That's all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Boy, isn't that the bottom line? Thank you so much, Tammy. And Leo, thank you so much for being a hero through your story, through the power of your story. We're all so grateful that you were here and that you are here. And Leo, how can people get a hold of you if they want to find you? How can they get help if they need help?
You've got my contact info for sure. You can give it out to whoever you want to give it out to. I don't have, you know, if somebody, you know, I'm helping a coworker, a friend of hers, that's struggling. I got a really unusual name. If you Google me on Facebook, give it to somebody, tell me you're giving it to somebody, give me the name of the person that give it to me, have them friend me. I got an hour for you, no problem. Because you might not be quite there yet, but you might. And I give everybody a safe place to land, to talk about stuff that they got to talk about. You know, so my contact information is on LinkedIn too. I put it out there on LinkedIn. You know, if I can help in any way, just let me know. Like if you're teaching a class or you're teaching a course and you want to drop me in like this, I'll help out any way that I can. You know, God's given me an ability to speak and share. I believe that. And so this helps me too, because even though for, you know, a little bit, I'm a prisoner to my past, I'm not a prisoner to my past. I know very much I'm in the moment right now. Yeah. And you never asked me what I was grateful for, Sarah. You know what I'm grateful for?
What are you grateful
for?
Bacon,
man.
Bacon.
We have maple bacon donuts here in Canada, man. The best.
Oh, that sounds good. That sounds really good. And didn't you say something about you like pecans and not walnuts because walnuts are bitter or something like that? Yes, we had a baker. One of the people here is a baker. They said there was a baker already. We had this lady. She made the very best banana bread. Absolutely baked like from the 1900s. She baked like she's from the 1900s, and she was only 30. I worked steady midnights to get that bacon bread. So one time she made it with walnuts, and I took a bite, and it tasted horrible. It tasted, and I got mad at her. I said, "What the F is this?" And she goes, "What?" I goes, "What the F is this? This isn't your." And she said, "I made it with walnuts. I made it with walnuts." And I screamed at her, "Walnuts are bitter." She told me to F off. She loved me, and I loved her too, you know. I got issues, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. Okay, if you want to cook something or bake something, especially you, Denise, for Leo, no walnuts. Okay, that's good. That's very clear.
Oh yeah, I will. Yeah. Hey, I just want to share the love of like over the summer, the big hit with me that I got reorders for was banana cream. I did a lot of banana cream. I really think that sometimes with a cupcake, you can overdo it. And so you really need to stay with those classic flavors. But anyway, yeah, this could be a long night for everybody on this call. And yeah, so yummy stuff. Yeah, so I'm going to go to Jamaica. I'm actually going to sneak in the kitchen in Jamaica and maybe come back with something to add to the cupcakes and to the dessert bar.
Ooh, that's awesome.
Well,
Well, we
it's
will,
legal.
yes. It'll be legal. It'll be, she's the queen of the baking. So
Yeah.
can't wait for that.
Yeah,
They're
I
gonna-
mean, I think it's really important to be really in your taste diverse, but chocolate is chocolate, and chocolate to us in the United States and chocolate overseas, I'm sure that people will tell you, can be quite different. So
Canadian chocolate is very different.
very,
Belgian
I mean,
chocolate is top notch.
what is it?
Belgian chocolate?
Oh,
Belgian
I do-
chocolate, like legit from Belgium, not
Okay,
this
no, so
American
I
bullshit
mean,
that says
literally,
Belgian chocolate.
on my Facebook and on my Instagram, that's what I work with during the holidays, and I add an espresso to it, and I add some citrus salt, and it's like a party in your mouth because it starts out with one, then you get the other, and then you're like, oh, that's how chocolate's supposed to taste.
Listen,
So,
y'all are
yeah,
making
good
me
stuff.
mad that my parents don't live in Belgium anymore. Because that was where my dad was stationed. And so every Christmas I got a care package with a couple different Belgian beers and Belgian chocolates and
Oh, yeah,
some
it's
German
the-
chocolates.
it's the
And I
best.
fucking miss that shit. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
mean,
no.
I order it early and use it all season long. This could be long for you guys. I'll just have to share my cupcake thing some other night, but yeah, yummy stuff.
Sounds
Better
so
have at
good.
least
Tell the
85%
story of
cacao.
Denise.
This milk chocolate stuff sucks.
That sounds amazing. Denise, have a fantastic time in oh my gosh,
Jamaica.
Jamaica. Sorry,
Making me
had a
crazy.
brain
Yeah,
blip
and
there.
then
Okay.
and then so what's happening is my son's father's service his service is in Seattle, and I will fly directly from Jamaica into that, but that's fine because I've got a fantastic support system. I got people all over the United States, veterans, counselors, all that good stuff. So I'm pretty set, but a lot of emotion, but I'm just really grateful. And I think that, I don't know what you guys were talking about because I was cooking bacon. So I heard bacon and I come running. And so, yeah. But anyway, so yeah, but I'm just grateful. So thank you guys.
Well, I wish you the very best. And then I just want to say quickly too, Junior, it's great to have you on here. Hope to see you again, especially because you need to keep Michael company. And Leo, it's been amazing to have you on, and I hope you will come back.
Truly
Yep.
honored. You're all in my heart, I appreciate you very much. Thank you for this honor, man. It's been an honor. It's nice to know you all, okay? Thanks for
Thank
your
you
kind
so
words
much.
and your love. I appreciate you.
Hey,
Thanks.
Paul.
Nice